Blood. I've been streaming some Flesh and Blood TCG recently, but we're switching it up, and this time we're actually going to be broadcasting Star Wars Legion again. So this is the round of 8, aka the quarterfinals here for the Legion Ladder Season 3. And so this is the tournament at the end of the ladder. Both of these players made the top 16 and won their initial matches, so they are now going to face off to see who is going to move on to semifinals. This should be especially interesting here because we have two players here who are running very different lists. So Luke Cook, the Separatist player, is running a double AAT list, taking advantage of the new field commander mechanic to allow him to not run a normal commander, but instead have the T-Series tactical droid in that AAT be his commander for this game. And the rest of his army is mostly a horde of B1 battle droids that have very little upgrades. So, he's going to rely on those tanks and his snipers, I think, to carry the day. And on the other side of the board, we have also a vehicle list, but a very different vehicle list. PilotPaul is running double airspeeder and an AT-RT, along with some rebel units backing him up. He has a lot of repair ability for his vehicles with two fleet trooper squads with astromechs as well as R2-D2, and he also has Cassian Andor and K2 to cause some trouble for his opponent. As we can see here, I'm going to just do a little zoom in. Cassian Andor has been deployed up on top of this rock, and I believe based on this deployment, his plan is going to be to use that marksman ability to just rain down crits on those AATs and try to snipe them off. So that should be pretty interesting. We're going to see exactly how much damage Cassian can do here, I think. K2 has been deployed down here where maybe he can give Cassian some aims in order to better amp up the marksman shot. If K2 aims and uses calculate odds on himself, that gives 2 aims to Cassian as well because of the teamwork mechanic. So then Cassian has 2 aims. He can aim himself for a third and then fire. And if he has if he has 3 aims, it's not guaranteed, but it's close to guaranteed that he'll get 2 crits. It's not close to guaranteed. It's extremely likely that he'll get 2 crits. And if he just sits there and uses his crack shot card, he'll be able to do 2 snipes with potentially 4 aims if he gets those buffs from K2, which could potentially do even more than that. And it looks like the game is starting off here with that sniper shot being made. I didn't see the command cards. It looks like it was assault on this side, and I didn't see the other one. Alright, so he gets a crit, and he turns his normal hit into a crit, and the AAT passes both its saves, but is still going to suffer 1 wound thanks to Pierce. So, as I had predicted, Cassian is getting the game rolling with some sniping at that AAT. Okay. So now we're going to see what's happening here as we have the droids moving forward. I have a feeling this droid army is going to have a lot of activations that are just not that exciting, given the number of droid units with no other equipment. And there's actually 5 different B1 battle droid squads that don't have any other equipment, so if we zoom the camera in over here, we can sort of see the droid central over here. There's just a big bunch of those droids. They don't really have much of anything going for them in terms of offense, but they are able to just flood onto the objectives. And with key positions, this game is going to end up being largely about who is going to take that center objective. So we'll see what happens here. I believe the center area is an objective. It looks like this crate on this side is an objective. And then the droid objective is this barricade in dark blue. So one thing that I'm immediately noticing about this deployment is that if we look at the rebel objective over here, there aren't all that many units in that area. There's this one rebel DLT squad, but I'm not entirely sure. It does seem possible the tanks could shoot this unit off the objective. I think the rebels might have to detach some of these units and send them over there if they really want to be if they really want to be doing that. Now, Rebel Sniper is activating, but interestingly, he's actually out of range. Um, Ever since snipers were nerfed to range 5 instead of range unlimited, there has been the prospect for a sniper to not get shots. But he's now going to move to range. It looks like he's going to move up, just kind of get to the edge of range 5, probably trying to avoid shooting. The problem is these droid snipers can potentially move around the corner and shoot at the rebel sniper. So I'm not sure this is a very good placement. I think he's going to be pretty vulnerable up there. I think these droid snipers can easily just step to the side and shoot the rebel sniper. It looks like with the other model over there, though, the rebels will at least have cover from this lat, so that might help with some survivability. But I have to say, I think that rebel is in a difficult spot, especially just for getting an AAT shot. He needs to roll a crit and doesn't get one, so no damage inflicted. And I think the separatists here are going to continue to just basically spend as much time as they can on unimportant activations, which is often a good tactic in this game. So we're seeing the just basic battle droid squads moving up and not doing much of anything. Okay, yep, these guys are just going to move up. Normally there's a big spider droid thing here, but I told them to just remove it and treat it as not there. It's not, it's like this is supposed to be an area terrain area, and it's not supposed to be something that's going to be a big, it's not supposed to be something that is going to really constrict gameplay. So I think they decided to remove it so they could fit models in more cleanly. Okay, and then we're going to see, looks like some of these fleet troopers here. Now, it's interesting, normally people would use unupgraded rebel troopers in this role, but he has gone for fleet troopers instead. The fleet troopers, I believe, have gotten a points update where the base cost for a fleet squad is now the same as a rebel trooper squad. So if you're taking an unupgraded unit, he might be thinking, well, this unit doesn't really do anything, so I might as well take the fleet unit where it at least might have some punch up close. It's kind of interesting. I actually think that the rebel trooper squads in that role are significantly better. I'm not sure. It's going to depend a bit on terrain and so on. The thing about the rebel trooper squads is that the shooting from rebel trooper squads at range 3 is not all that strong, but occasionally if you can catch someone out of cover, or you can have an opportunity to aim and shoot, or if you just you can just get some lucky crits, and in some cases actually suppression can be really useful from those units too against certain targets. If you have like 3 unupgraded rebel troopers that all shoot something, that's 3 suppression, which could impair even a courage 2 unit. So I don't know about these unupgraded fleets versus unupgraded, or fleets without heavy weapons versus rebels without heavy weapons. Okay, yeah, it looks like he's having some trouble threading the needle in between the rocks and the AT-RT, and it looks like he might decide to go around the other way instead. We do have R2-D2 over here as well, who, it's going to be a difficult opportunity for R2-D2, so this rollout deployment is kind of like battle lines, and it's going to be, it's kind of like Long March. It's going to be difficult for R2-D2 to get across the field here, though of course the bonus point from Secret Mission would be huge. If it'll be a huge benefit if PilotPaul does manage to score it, scoring an extra victory point on key positions, which is often a draw or one person up by 1, that's a really influential thing to do in the game. So we'll see how that goes. All right. And I'm back. Okay. Sorry if I was not saying stuff that. Sorry if I was not responding to chat, by the way, guys. Just have the thing up to monitor chat now, so my apologies. We're seeing, I think, some more relatively bland activations there with some battle droids just moving up and dodging. Looks like K2 is going to leave Cassian behind here. A little interesting. I don't know exactly what Cassian's plan is, or what K2's plan is. I almost would want to just keep him in range of Cassian, because I think that K2 allowing Cassian to get 2 aims potentially 3 aims is potentially going to be better, just because the potential to get the 2 crits instead of just 1 against those AATs could be very useful, and I'm not sure how much K2 is going to do with his own gun. It also depends on what exactly the game plan is with these air speeders. I do think that PilotPaul is aiming to actually kill the AATs. We've seen in Star Wars Legion a lot of the time these battles between vehicle armies, and with the vehicles actually being targeted more, whereas in battles where it's not vehicle army, or like one army is a vehicle army but the other is troopers, a common tactic is to just try to focus on killing your opponent's troops, let their vehicle remain up, and then just win on the objective. But in this situation, with both armies having relatively good anti-vehicle firepower, I think that we are going to see an actual attempt to kill the vehicles. And I think that's especially true given that Cassian's sniper is extremely bad against droids. Sniper type attacks are just weak against droids in general. The droid snipers have impervious, which means that Pierce doesn't reliably work against them. Sometimes they have the shields, though not in this list, which is going to provide them further protection. B1 battle droids are so inexpensive that sniping one off doesn't matter very much. And yeah, I mean, usually the only good target for snipers in a droid army is their commander, but this army doesn't even have a commander. So I think the fact that the rebels only have one sniper is maybe going to be to their advantage, even though snipers are normally very strong. The other thing that I'll say about that, though, is that the what's it called? Sniper that Cassian has, thanks to marksman, can reliably get crits, and because of that, he's in kind of a different position. So we're seeing this. It looks like we have a little connection issue. It looks like PilotPaul disconnected after taking this move, and Luke Cook says he's on hotel Wi-Fi. Okay. I would not want to be staying in a hotel at this time, but I believe PilotPaul is actually a pilot in real life as his job. So, yeah, he's not just a flying vehicle fan in this game. He is a flying vehicle fan in real life as a professional pilot, I believe. All right. So it does look like he's going to be moving an airspeeder, and it looks like it's just going to be, he's not moving into the attack. He's going to be kind of moving around here. This airspeeder has Wedge, so Wedge has been buffed recently. This card is no longer accurate. So Wedge is now, I believe, 1 point, and you can exhaust him to pivot as a free action. It's not a full pivot, it's just a normal pivot, but it is free, so it can be really good for lining up those angles just the way that you want. And Wedge's airspeeder has been equipped with the AX-108 ground buzzer, which allows it to fire 4 black dice from the rear arc, which is actually a lot better than the 1 red die from the harpoon. But you have to be in a position where there's enemies both to the front and back, which is not always the case. The other airspeeder without Wedge has been equipped just with the standard power harpoon, which is now free. It'll be extremely funny if we actually see tow cable used this game. So if you can wound a vehicle with the power harpoon, you get to pivot it thanks to the tow cable. So I don't think it's going to happen, but we could conceivably see some scenario where one of the airspeeders causes the tank to turn towards the wall or something. However, it's not all that effective against these tanks because they do have the they do have a turret which allows them to shoot in any direction. Their guns are not fixed front, unlike some of the other vehicles in the game. So I'm not sure the power harpoon is going to be very relevant here. But we could also see it just being fired with a single red die just to try to do some damage to droid units. Alright. PilotPaul is trying to reconnect to the game here. Cassian Andor, with a great line of sight to those tanks, has already damaged one of them. I'm not sure which tank was hit. I think tank number 1, which was the T-Series tank. The T-Series loses AI attack and gains field commander, which is pretty sweet. Unfortunately for PilotPaul, these tanks have 9 wounds and a red defense die, which is very strong, but this one's down to 8. And that is tank number 1. And it isn't clear to me based on the numbers. I'm not seeing the little numbers on the base that you see with some of the other units, so I'm not entirely sure which tank was focused on. I think it was the red one, but I don't know. Actually, I'll just ask them. All right. So this so yeah, so Doc or Pilot Paul is back and he's maneuvering the vehicle there. Lord of Paper Towel says killing both seems like a very difficult task, but one should definitely go down to Cassian and the planes. Yeah, that makes sense. And Luke Cook says red is commander. So the this tank here is the field commander, and that's the one that's taken a wound. And so it looks like this airspeeder is trying to just play it safe. Maneuvers a little bit over here, and then is going to pivot and dodge. So just trying not to be in too risky a position. And so this is, people used to joke about this being called doing donuts, especially with the Imperial speeder bikes, where people would just like kind of fly them around in their deployment area and make the opponent approach them more. I think maybe Pilot Paul here is hoping to force his opponent's tanks to move up and to give him some more time to snipe away with Cassian. He also is at least kind of worried about too many just random dice potentially rolling crits from the B1 battle droids. There are just a lot of models on the board, and crits are quite good against vehicles, probably, in my opinion, too good against vehicles. So he doesn't want to have his airspeeders too close to all the battle droids just because of the risk. Since they have such little value otherwise and have such little to do, in this matchup, they very well might just like move or aim and shoot, and each battle droid unit can roll like 6 dice. If you have an aim token, that's probably 8 dice. That's probably 1 crit. So like each battle droid unit can do 2/3 of a wound to the airspeeders. That doesn't sound like much, but it can really add up if you're having 5 or 6 units shoot at them. Another way to think of it would be that if all 6 battle droids shot, aimed and fired, it would probably be like 4 wounds, which is actually a lot. That's like more than half health for one of these airspeeders. So it needs to be a little careful there. And that is one of the things that I think is a weakness of the Star Wars Legion rule set. I think that dedicated anti-vehicle weapons are too weak, and just rolling crits against vehicles are too strong. But that's just like my opinion, man. And certainly both of these armies have not just the ability to get some crits, but also some definitely real anti-vehicle weapons of their own. And we'll have to see how that goes. Now this AT-RT is moving up. I have to say I think this is a mistake. The AT-RT isn't in range of anything, and additionally, it can be shot down relatively easily by those tanks. And I believe it's been equipped with the rotary blaster at range 3, so he's not in range. I don't know. It doesn't seem good. It doesn't seem good to me. I think this AT-RT is going to just get hit and is probably going to take a lot of damage. So I think he's kind of giving his opponent a shot here unnecessarily. I mean, maybe he just thinks this AT-RT doesn't have much chance in this matchup in general. But I don't know why he's moving up such that this... I guess he's moving to just out of 4, so the tank will have to move up to shoot at him, which is, that's not bad. But I'm not sure this AT-RT is going to do... I'm not sure this AT-RT is going to do much of value. These AT-RTs are good against... they're good against trooper units, but they're very vulnerable against heavier armor. And if he had the laser cannon, it might be something else, but with this rotary, it's not that good. Lord of Paper Towel says, no armor-piercing shells, but they're not really necessary for a single AT-RT. Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. So on the AATs, we have seen the high energy shells upgrade, which grants 2 red dice, 1 white, critical 1 with high velocity at range 2 to 4. And that's going to be, that's not as good as the armor-piercing shells against this armor, but it's not, by the same token, it's not bad. And the AATs actually have Barrage, which allows you to, instead of using Arsenal, you can just perform 2 attack actions. And I think that's likely what we're going to see. I think they're going to want to engage these vehicles by simply firing twice with their main gun. I think that's probably going to be their best option. The AAT main gun is critical 2, high velocity, impact 1, and with 4 red dice, so they can just roll that twice. There's a good chance of doing some damage, and I think that adding the extra 2 red and 1 white with critical 1 from the high velocity shells doesn't actually give you all that much, because it doesn't. So in terms of dice, it's worse. It adds critical 1, but it doesn't have impact. So I think you would rather have the 2 shots with the main gun, at least if the opponent is not in heavy cover. And neither of these airspeeders have the outer rim pilot that allows you to get cover 2 on them. So that's not really a consideration here either. And it looks like the other airspeeder is probably going to continue. Maybe not. It looks like he's sizing up a potential shot. I don't know. This is risky. If he sends his one airspeeder in without support from the rest of the army, I think it's just going to get killed. And so he could have some attacks here, but I think he realizes what I just pointed out. It's not worth the risk, and he moves his airspeeder into a defensive position. That seems like it's probably allowed. There's the old 45-degree rule. I don't think that's 45 degrees. I think that's like 30 something degrees. That one looks more questionable. I don't know. Whatever. I tend to give a pretty wide berth to these sorts of things, given the weird outcomes that you get with tabletop simulator sometime and the physics and stuff. I don't know if it's that reliable. Also, this is like a dramatic bank here from the airspeeders. The airspeeders flying down this canyon and trying to stay back a bit from the AATs initially. This has been not the most exciting first turn, with only one shot even fired thus far, the one from Cassian, but I think we're now going to see the droid snipers. Oh, no, that's not true. The rebel sniper also engaged. I think we're going to see the droid snipers engaging the rebel sniper here, and I think that positioning... I think this positioning for the rebel sniper was not worth the risk, and I think we're going to see him likely lose at least one model and maybe both against these droid snipers, so we'll have to see how that goes. These are the BX Commando droids, which I believe are from the Clone Wars TV show. And they have maybe the best sniper weapon in the game, with 2 red dice at range 1 to 5, lethal 1, immune to deflect. I don't know. I don't think it's the best. I think Cassian's sniper is better. Or Aiden's sniper is better, probably. But the BX droids having 2 red dice is pretty strong. Most other snipers aren't rolling those dice. So he's going to move over. It looks like he can see a little bit of the silhouette of the model over there. He's going to use his offensive push upgrade to get a free aim, and then he is going to fire at the one visible model of that sniper team. The dice come up and get 2 hits. He'll spend his aim for a lethal 1, getting Pierce, and that is a dead model from the Rebel sniper team. And now I think the other droid sniper is just going to finish them off. I mentioned earlier that I thought that move was a mistake, and I think we are going to see the first activation lost relatively quickly. But one thing that may be a bit of a relief for PilotPaul is that this sniper is just not very relevant in this matchup. It's not very strong. However, losing activations is always costly. So, I don't know. I think it might have been better to keep the sniper further back in this situation rather than risking him to take a very low percentage shot against that AAT. I think with these 2 droid sniper squads scouted so far forward and in a good spot, it's not worth the risk to have one of your snipers in a position where he can potentially get picked off. But we'll see. It's possible the other droid sniper will get unlucky and won't be able to get the kill. Right now, it looks like one of these Fleet Trooper repair squads is activating, and he's going to be moving up. He wants to put these in a position where they can potentially repair either of his T-47s, depending on which one gets focused on next turn. They have to also be in a position where they can move to them, because the T-47s will almost certainly be moving up. Interesting situation there for PilotPaul. The plus side is he's not too worried about this unit getting shot at, but we'll see how it goes. Thinking about some ranges here, it looks like. He doesn't want to advance too far forward to give his opponent unnecessary shots, so it looks like he's being more conservative and staying further back on that. Looks like it's going to be maybe a move and a dodge for these troopers. Yep. So the dodges actually aren't all that good here, because the long-range weapon from the AAT, both the high energy shells and the main gun are high velocity. So I believe the dodges are just not really going to do very much. However, they might do something against the They could be relevant against the sniper droids, but I think the sniper droids are going to try to kill the rebel sniper instead. One thing that might have made that move with the rebel sniper a little better is if he had used K2 on the rebel sniper first. I think the activation order just didn't line up like that, but K2's calculate odds would have given them a dodge, which actually does work against droid snipers, and then would have given them an aim to get better dice against the AAT. That's not what he did, though, and now we're going to see it's likely that sniper is dead. Oh, there's a miss on one of the dice, so he has to use the offensive push for the reroll and doesn't have Pierce. That means there's a 1 in 3 that sniper will live, and he lives. So the rebel sniper getting a little lucky there and surviving the second shot there from the other droid sniper unit. So this activation is not going to be lost immediately. It's possible he'll also be engaged by one of the AATs to try to finish off the activation, but at least for now, that activation is going to stay on the board. And then we have R2, who I think has been probably stalling here, trying to go late. Interestingly, it looks like he's going to be opting. So there's multiple ways you could play R2 here. One way is to put him in a more central position to focus on repairs, but it looks like he's going to be focused on trying to actually sneak around the edge here for secret mission. Which does mean that R2 is not going to be in a good position to repair this airspeeder. And I have to say that likely means that these tanks are going to do better if they focus on the black airspeeder here without wedge, because he's going to be out of range of R2's powerful repair ability. I think in this matchup it's possible that you have to just accept R2 is not going to score secret mission, it's too far away, and instead just run him into a more central position over here or something and try to use him for repairing the airspeeders, with the theory being that the most relevant part of this matchup damage-wise is going to be the airspeeder versus AAT conflict, and that if the opponent wants to stop R2, he has a really far way to go. He has a really far way to go. There's a lot of firepower. He's just not in a very good position. I think I personally would be maybe just saying secret mission's not going to happen. This is going to be about whose vehicles blow each other up and who can take control of the center. The thing about this key position also is that the AAT can just park on it and block most of the position from other units. So he really needs to kill those AATs to get the central position. So it looks like there's going to be a total of 3 crits, 2 base, and then 1 from impact. So 3 crits on the AT-RT there. It fails all its saves, takes 3 wounds. As predicted, this AT-RT is too far up. But given that it has limited range, I think maybe it has to play risky here to even potentially have a shot on doing much of anything in this game. So I think the AT-RT is going to be gunned down relatively easily. And that rebel sniper got lucky to not die. So indeed, we're seeing the AAT just takes a tiny move forward in order to engage that AT-RT. Looks like it can see it completely over that terrain, so it won't have cover. And it'll be 2 crits here, plus 1 from impacts. That's 3, so this AT-RT could die right here. Aim token does generate another crit thanks to the extra critical there. And dead. So, yep, as predicted, this AT-RT overextended to the front, not in a safe position, just dies, but there's not a lot it could do. It could maybe try to hide behind the wing, but I think it's possible they would have been able to get a shot either way. So, first activation down, the AT-RT not up to snuff in this environment. I honestly think he might have just done better just not moving it forward at all and just waiting for the turn when the airspeeders were going to engage, because I think you really don't want to send your units in piecemeal in this game, especially when you're already at an activation disadvantage. So PilotPaul is on, I believe his list is base 10 activations, and that's right. And then the Separatists have 11 activations base, so now it's 9 to 11, and that's further downside. Ringmaster says, isn't this hostile? Can't R2 just keep the suppression? Yeah, he is still suppressed. Oh, that's a good point. Like, maybe he's thinking because R2 has the suppression, he can just run across the board. I think it's possible that the opponent would be able to snipe him, but yeah. Okay, so push played here. Going to go first and the orders are given to the 2 airspeeders. So I think we're going to see the airspeeders moving in to engage, but it's possible that he wants to stall with them and use some of his other stuff first. There's kind of an awkward element in this list from PilotPaul, which is that he wants his repair elements to go after his airspeeders so that they can repair them once they've moved up and gotten shot at. But he also wants to stall with the airspeeders to avoid them taking that many shots in the first place. So it's a little odd, especially when he's down on activations here. But we'll see how this goes. Right now, I have to say I think Luke Cook has a big advantage. I think that Rebel Sniper probably dies this turn, and I think that the droids just have a stronger position for the center of the board right now. Pilot Paul actually needs to play relatively aggressively to clear those AATs and get his stuff engaging on the center, and I just am not sure he's going to be able to do it. But we'll have to see. He certainly does have way more ability to clear the AATs than many armies do. Lord of Paper Towel says Pilot's list has such an awkward token pool as well. 1 commander, 2 operatives, 3 core, 1 SF, 1 support. Zyconia says the Cookie Man and highlights it. What is the Cookie Man? I'm not sure what that's a reference to here. Meanwhile, though, we're going to see the Rebel Troopers, Rebel Trooper squads. Or I'm sorry, not the Rebel Troopers. That's K2 moving forward, I think. Looks like he used his calculate odds on Cassian and then moved forward. So he's going to give the give an aim and a dodge to Cassian, make that attack a little better for getting crits in. Meanwhile, the droid sniper is going to snipe off the Rebel sniper. So again, as predicted, that Rebel sniper too far forward, too dangerous a spot, and it's now 8-10. A Space Viking says, what are the ladder rules for command cards with Field Commander right now? Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So the way that Field Commander works in this ladder is that you're allowed to take duplicates of the basic cards, but only if you don't have other options. So this Rebel DLT squad, kind of stranded out of range, doesn't have the ability to engage that sniper. Yeah. I think that the sniper and ATRT were far forward from the rest of the Rebel list. I think Pilot Paul's moves with the other things were nice and conservative, but I think he got a little too aggro with those units and they got picked off for it. So he's now operating from even more of an activation disadvantage. So Ringmaster, calculating the sniper might have been a better option in that the dodge token there would potentially keep him alive against a droid sniper shot. So I actually think that might have been tight. The problem is that they could then shoot at him with the other droid sniper and probably kill him, but it would at least make them take more time. So the Rebel troopers over there are moving up and dodging. They should be able to get heavy cover from this forward command center, which will... so heavy cover and a dodge, that should be relatively difficult to clear. And maybe next turn they'll be able to move over the top here and fire their DLT at the commandos. Cassian is going to aim and shoot at the wounded AAT, I believe. He does already have an aim from K2. Yep, so he's going to shoot at the wounded commander AAT. Let's see how the dice go here. He does have marksman. Gets a crit, spends an aim to turn the other one to a crit. Another double crit from Cassian on that AAT. Here comes the saves, and they both pass. So lucky saves there from Luke Cook thus far. He is 4 for 4 on saves, but Cassian's Pierce ability means that he's still taking 2 wounds. On average, he should have, on average, that attack is, you have a 75% chance to do 2 wounds there. So with two wounds getting through from Cassian with Pierce against red saves, no surge. So Luke's definitely had some good luck. I think it would be more in line with expectation for that AAT to have suffered 3 or 4 wounds at this point. But at the same time, that can happen. If you do have surge tokens, it's a lot better, but because he doesn't have aggressive tactics, since he doesn't have a commander, there's no surge tokens to be had. Ringmaster80 in chat asked, which one is the commander? The red one up here is the commander, and it's also the one that's been focused on by the shooting here from Cassian. Space Viking says a 0% chance against Luke to do that much damage. A sniper here engages the fleet troopers, does get a lucky crit. But it's likely they would have to take at least 1 save either way. They do pass the save. That unit didn't have an aim since offensive push was already used, I believe. Yeah, so no damage inflicted, but the suppression might make it difficult for them to move up as fast as they want. However, because the repair droid that you can take in a squad repairs as a free action, they would be able to move and repair regardless. They do not have to spend an action to repair like R2 does. However, it looks like they are going to activate before the airspeeder does and maybe move in towards the shelter of this gunship. People joking here about Luke Cook having good luck. I think this gunship is normally a very strong position. You know, sometimes on this map we see the player on this side having a lot of their units up on this part of the gunship, using it for cover to try to control the center. But in this situation, it's going to be significantly weaker than it is normally, just because this isn't really a conventional like trooper gun line versus trooper gun line situation. The interplay between the vehicles is going to be more relevant. So it's not really like, oh, you know, he has such a good position with his, you know, clone trooper phase twos shooting it out with these battle droids. It's not really going to be about that. It's going to be more of an emphasis on the heavies rather than the core units. So I think that Luke Cook was blue and actually chose to take this side. You know, I think that this side with the lat is often better on this map, but given that this is going to be more of a vehicle matchup and so on, I think that Luke decided that this side was going to be better for him, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's especially relevant because these rebel troop units with these fleet troopers, they don't have range 3. So if these were like rebel troopers, he could potentially move them up and be taking pot shots at the battle droids and stuff. But with fleet troopers, I think he's going to want to hang back and maybe try to use their better dice to push the droids off the objective at the end. Now the big thing about this mission is that if either player has surviving vehicles and the opponent doesn't, you're able to put the vehicles onto the center key position and actually push other units off with displacement. And because of that, I think it's going to be a situation where whoever wins the vehicle war is going to have a substantial advantage when it comes to, wow, and he's moving that way far forward. I guess this may be a compulsory move. Yeah, okay, so he's going to do his compulsory move first. That's fine. And he doesn't quite get in range of that red AAT. Oh no, this is really bad. Maybe he's in range now. It's hard to tell. I don't think he is. I think he's just out. So I think he's made a big error in his placement or in his target priority, or a small error but with big consequences. Yeah, he doesn't have range to the red AAT. Huge issue here for PilotPaul. So I think that earlier he should have been targeting his sniper shots in the center one because it's the one in a position where more units can focus on it. Shooting the red one instead, he's found himself in a position where his airspeeder actually can't target the unit that he wants to target, the one that's already been taking the damage. So kind of an issue of target priority here that might end up being very costly for PilotPaul. I'm not totally sure, but this is not, I think, optimal. Ringmaster says, don't you think the black AAT is more exposed since it is on the edge of the droid's formation? It seems easier to focus it rather than red. I agree completely. The issue is those sniper shots have been going into the red AAT, not the black one. So that means that he actually has a lot more, he has 2 more wounds to chew through. If he focuses his airspeeders on the black AAT, you really want to focus fire. It's very important, especially when dealing with these big units. And it looks like he ended up just out of range and wasn't able to do it, so he is going to target the black AAT instead. He does get 1 crit +3 from the from impact here, and it is going. Oh, incredible saves from Luke! All 4 saves passed. Luke is 8 for 8 on saves. Extremely lucky. He should have taken 4 more wounds on average. It was actually an unaimed shot though, and then this vehicle is going to actually take a move to try to get out of a exposed position. Maybe, I'm not sure, but this has been really negative, I think, for PilotPaul. The fact it looks like it's going to take a dodge instead, realizing that he doesn't really have the maneuverability to get into the spot that he wants. But this is looking really grim with just missing the shot on that red AAT by millimeters, and then having that followed up by the incredibly lucky saves there from Luke Cook. That's a 1 in 32 to pass all 4 red saves in that situation. So really, really negative situation here for PilotPaul. That's absolutely not the result that he wants for this important airspeeder attack. You know, he managed to force 4 saves, but all of them were passed. You know, if you imagine a situation where Cassian... Oh, looks like the server's crashed. I'm going to see if I can reconnect here. But if we imagine a situation where the Cassian had fired on the black AAT and we had average saves, we could be looking at that black AAT having taken 5 wounds by now. And in that situation, it could like even conceivably die or be damaged this turn. But the combination of the questionable target priority leading to no focus fire and the really strong saves from Luke Cook have meant that this AAT is actually in a pretty good spot. So I'm not sure what happened there. I think maybe just it may just be that PilotPaul and I got disconnected. The server's back up and we're back in the game. I have to say, I thought this situation was already looking pretty good for Luke, and it's only looking better now that the target priority issue is apparent, and the excellent saves there are going to prevent damage. I suppose if he had attacked the red one, it wouldn't have mattered given those rolls. Droids are continuing to move up, and I do think if they can get to range 3, we are going to see those droids firing on the airspeeder, but I don't think they're there. Yep, they're not even actually at range 4. So those droids are going to keep moving forward. It looks like they're actually just going to play relatively conservative and dodge. I think if I were Luke, I would actually be rushing my droids more forward to try to just zerg the objective here, but maybe he's going to try to play it safe and just pick off the airspeeders before moving in with his other stuff. Now, Wedge moves in here. Also trying to find a shot, and it looks like he is going to be just barely in range with this move. Okay, so he's thinking about some different angles here, maybe. Maybe just trying to keep his distance further away from the red AAT, try to prevent himself from being in range 4 of it, which I actually think is a pretty good idea. If he can stay out of range 4 of the red AAT, it won't be able to double tap against him, but although it would be able to against that one, which is kind of a problem. Aim and shoot. Yep, so moving, Wedge engaging. Let's see if he can do better than the previous one. Wedge firing his own main gun here with the aim token. Excellent roll, and then he's going to reroll those 2. Okay, so it's going to be another 4 crits here. Let's see if the saves are any worse this time. Luke Cook still rolling hot, above average, only 1 wound gets through. Very, very negative development for PilotPaul with this turn shooting. In this situation, I think on average you would probably be looking at something like 5 to 6 wounds inflicted, and he only got 2. So very far below average with his shooting this turn, and that's going to be a big problem. He really needs to push the wounds through on those AATs. So I don't know. I think this game is currently favoring Luke Cook, and I think the rolls here. The thing is that PilotPaul is basically out of offense for the turn. His only units that are seriously threatening those AITs are Cassian and the 2 airspeeders, and with only 2 wounds dealt by those 3 units, that is going to be far below the outcome that PilotPaul is looking for. On average, I believe Cassian alone would do 2 wounds. So yeah, far below average damage output there for this turn. All right, we'll see though. Meanwhile, Luke Cook's droids are moving up into position. One thing I'll say is that we could see these things change. If these, imagine next turn, if we had reversed rolls in this situation, we would see, 7 wounds inflicted on one of the tanks, and the situation would be looking extremely different. It's possible that that is going to, we're going to see that happen at some point, and it's going to end up with PilotPaul in a much better position. So, but at this point, because of the very strong saves that we've seen from Luke Cook in the first 2 turns here, he's going to really have to hope that his luck changes going into the rest of the game, because right now this situation is looking very favorable for Luke. On the other hand, Luke doesn't have all that much relevant offense himself. He did pick off that sniper. He did kill the ATRT, but it's totally possible that his own shooting is just not going to do very much to these airspeeders, And I think if that happens, it could be interesting. The problem is that I think that the battle droids there are considerably more resilient than the troop choices or the core units there from PilotPaul. So Paul has to hope that he can gun down the AATs relatively quickly so that he can get his airspeeders into a position where they can just take that center objective at the end by displacing the droids off of it, which would then put PilotPaul in a winning position. I don't think he has a very realistic shot at actually gunning down all the droids, so he has to focus on winning the vehicle war and keeping the airspeeders alive for that displacement move, I believe. Or at least that's what I would be thinking in this matchup. And it looks like those battle droids are able to find a shot on that airspeeder. Let's see if they can get some crits. 1 crit gets through, so that could be a wound for the airspeeder. Let's see what happens here. Nope, save made. And then I believe that's the final unit here from Pilot Paul this turn. The last Fleet Trooper squad's just going to move up. And the interesting thing about these Fleet Trooper squads is they're not really in a position where they're going to be they're not in a position where they're going to be very relevant this turn, but if he keeps them in kind of a central spot, he's going to be potentially quite relevant next turn. Assuming that Luke Cook manages to do some damage to those airspeeders, the fleet troopers with their repair droids are in a good spot to keep the airspeeders going and try to get get the rebel vehicles some extra resilience. So the AATs are certainly a lot more resilient than the airspeeders, but with 4 potential repairs from the 2 astromechs and then another 4 potential repairs from R2, we could be looking at, normally these airspeeders are 7 wounds. If you assume that all the repair is used at a maximum efficiency, and that would be like 4 per, so you're really looking at something more like 11 wounds per airspeeder, which could be extremely strong. So depending on what we see here, these airspeeders might be able to stay alive longer than the AATs, depend on the attack rolls and other things that we see. Now, it looks like the red one here is probably going to double tap the main gun. Yep, first shot. So that is going to be... Yeah, that's going to be 3 crits. Or no, wait, hang on. Okay, yeah, so they're saying that's just cover 1. Okay, so they're playing those as separate train pieces. Good saves though, only 1 wound getting through. Both players have been rolling good saves, and then against this one, it's only going to be 1 save need to be made. Space Viking says, Kingsley, what's your take on fleets with the extra trooper and no heavy? 47 points versus 10 surging white dice. EV is higher than a Z6 trooper. That's cool, man. I'll be real with you. I hadn't thought of that before. That would be a cool thing to try out. That's a very cheap unit and is actually threatening at close range, so that could be cool. I don't know, man. Yeah, try it out and let me know what's up. Okay, so he's thinking about the body and the wing, and it looks... let's see. So they're looking at this thing. They're asking if the body and the wing are the same or not. So it says heavy cover from the body and the wing are different. So I think it is different, but it's confusingly defined. Yeah, so we're just gonna say cover 1 for this, which is unfortunate for Pilot Paul, but that's okay. Realistically, airspeeders should more or less never get cover anyway, so whatever. Okay, so looks like 2 saves will need to be made here. And both saves made. Dude, both players are rolling unreal saves on these vehicles. This is crazy. This is like a huge amount of firepower and just tons of saves. It does look like 1 more wound is going to get through. So that is a total of 3 wounds on that airspeeder. But that's just bizarre, man. Like, both sides with very powerful anti-vehicle weapons, but just not really doing any damage. On the plus side, at least Pilot Paul isn't getting totally diced here. His opponent is also proving less able than he might hope to get wounds through on those airspeeders. That said, I certainly think that Luke Cook has had stronger luck than Pilot Paul, but both of them have had good luck on the defense. Zyconia says plot armor. Yeah. The Yeah, so I think Space Viking. I think that could be an interesting thing where you're just like, okay, this squad, relative to the unupgraded squad, this costs 7 points more, but it's like actually at least somewhat threatening because it's what is that? It's 30, so that's it's like 3.75 hits on average. That's not bad. One disadvantage of it relative to a normal squad with heavy weapon, though, is that because you don't have the heavy weapon, attrition is more of an issue for you than it is for other squads. So with heavy weapon squads, you typically want to remove the heavy weapon trooper last, and because of that, your damage capacity doesn't degrade as much until the very end when you lose the heavy weapon and just have the sergeant left. Whereas squads where everyone has the same dice, like you lose a proportionally higher amount of your firepower with each casualty taken. I don't know though. It seems like it could be interesting, especially in some kind of list where you're just trying to have a huge number of activations. I kind of want to play around with that now. Thanks for that suggestion, man. That's cool. All right, white dice firing into the airspeeder doesn't score a crit. Actually, doesn't score anything. The droids blank out completely. To be fair, I don't think we ever saw B1 battle droids in the movies effectively shooting down. I mean, really almost anything. I guess the B1 battle droids were like pretty effective in the battle with the Gungans. Like it seemed like they were at least holding their own in that battle. But normally the B1 battle droids are like the ultimate cannon fodder unit or something. Offensive push being used there, I think just to get a reroll for trying to get more crits. And he's going to fire on that airspeeder that's been focused on thus far. And he does get 2 hits, but that does nothing. So he rerolls both of them looking for a crit and doesn't find it. So the airspeeder here shrugging off a lot of firepower. It has taken 3 wounds, but there's 2 fleet trooper squads waiting there with their astromechs for repairs. So the high energy shells are going to come back. They have cycle at the end of your activation if you did not use this card ready it. In this situation, that may not be all that relevant though, since the double tap main gunshot is going to be better than using cycle anyway. Okay, weird turn. Both armies finding themselves less able to do damage to their opponent's vehicles than I think they were hoping. But I do think the target priority issue with Cassian having engaged a different AAT from the one that the airspeeders are engaging may prove to be a problem. If there were 3 wounds on one AAT, it would be quite possible, maybe even likely, that you could get a kill this turn. But with the wounds spread out like this, he's going to... I think that PilotPaul is going to need some big luck to actually kill an AAT. Whereas for Luke, I think that killing a speeder is quite possible. Ooh, we do see Crackshot used by Cassian, so he's going to be able to engage both AATs this turn. He has Gunslinger and an aim token. And this also means that the rebels get to go first. I almost think that in this situation he should just draw. I am actually pretty confident in this situation he should just draw from the stack. Basically anything he gets is good, because if he gets one of his core units, he can repair this airspeeder. If he gets one of the airspeeders, he can engage with it before his opponent gets a chance to attack it. And if he gets if he got a operative, I don't know. I guess the question is R2 in range to repair that airspeeder? I think he's actually not. So I guess getting an operative would not advance his game very much, but we'll see. He gets an operative. Let's see if R2 is in range. If he is in range, he should move up and repair, I think. But I don't know. If he moves up and repairs, it also removes a lot of his ability to get to the objective. He measures and he's not in. So I think R2 is just going to go for the objective, or he's going to use K2. Is K2 in range of Cassian? I don't think they're in range anymore. Or wait, no, they're at range 2. Teamwork is range 2, is that right? Hey, Chad, is Teamwork range 2 or is it range 1? Teamwork's range 2, so K2 is in range of Teamwork. So he's going to calculate odds on himself. Now Cassian has 2 aims and a dodge. And then he's going to take another aim, giving Cassian 3 aim. Or no, he has a second. That was him giving himself a second aim, which he had from the, which he actually had from take aim. So he's going to give himself and Cassian those tokens and then move up. And because of incognito, he's still not at risk of being attacked. So here's the thing. This airspeeder has taken 3 wounds, and there hasn't been an opportunity to repair it yet. It's possible the AATs could activate and gun it down before it gets a chance to activate, depending on what we see with the activation timing. So I really think I would have wanted to use R2 for repairs here, and not having him here for that could prove costly. On the other hand, if R2 sneaks in and wins the game, obviously that's going to prove a big deal. All right, looks like a barrage, I think. Barrage is better, so I hope a barrage. Yeah, barrage. First shot. He does have an aim token from Link to Targeting Array. Manages to inflict 2 saves. Both saves fail. Only 2 wounds left. There is going to be a damage result rolled on this vehicle. And then the second shot is going to only inflict one save, so it will stay alive. Generic damage result, it is going to stay alive. Oh, no, wait. The reroll gets a crit, so there's going to have to be 2 saves against it. This could kill it. PilotPaul needs to make one of his saves. Can he do it? He needs to make one of these saves to stay alive. He fails them. Oh, that is a huge blow for PilotPaul. That is incredibly bad, and I think having R2 not in position to repair just cost him his airspeeder. Ooh. I don't know. I think this game is close to over. I don't really see how. I don't see how PilotPaul is going to take this. He's got to somehow take down those AATs and keep his airspeeder alive, and I just don't think it's happening. Or I guess somehow tie the center objective or win on points while sneaking in R2 or something. Spends 2 aims to get 2 crits on the red AAT. And Luke Cook doesn't make both saves this time, taking 2 wounds. So there are 4 wounds on that red AAT just from Cassian. This game kind of showing Cassian's strength as an anti-vehicle unit. And he fires his second shot at the black AAT and actually blanks out. He spends the third aim just to reroll to try to get a crit naturally, but doesn't get it. Very unlucky outcome there for Cassian. Typically with an aim, you're looking at, you're definitely looking at getting a crit through with red, black, surge to hit. Usually you're going to get at least 1, which you can then turn into a crit. Didn't get it. All right. I was saying earlier, both people were rolling good on saves for those vehicles, but that luck turned against PilotPaul that time, failing 4 out of 4 to lose that airspeeder before activating. And I do think this is now looking really grim for him, but we'll see. We'll see if he can pull something off with the wedge here. But I think he's in desperate trouble. All right, the yellow B1 battle droid's moving up, and it looks like they are going to be firing on those fleet troopers here. I guess they can't actually see the airspeeder, or I don't know. Maybe they can see it. You'd have to pull up the silhouettes. Oh, wow. They can see one guy, and then they can actually see the corner of that repair droid. So they're potentially going to snipe the repair droid if they can get 2 kills. Now, 2 kills are unlikely with 6 white dice. No surges into heavy cover. But it could happen. 2 crits. He could snipe off that droid. Let's see if PilotPaul's saves continue to fail him. He needs to make at least 1 save to keep that astromech alive. Let's see if he can do it. Fails the saves. That astromech is getting picked off. What? Oh, I guess they could see that guy too. Okay, I didn't think they could see that guy, but I guess they could. Wait, no, he removed his unit leader. Yeah, so I think they did this wrong. So unit leader has to die last. I think you have to remove the astromech first. So another lucky situation there from Luke Cook sniping off that astromech. But unfortunately, I think with the airspeeder dying before any of these repairs can go off, that astromech is going to be a lot less relevant. Eternal RMG says, is this game going to be faster than Timbo versus Bobette? Honestly, if this airspeeder dies, I would seriously consider just conceding the game as PilotPaul, but we'll see. It's possible something will happen here. Oh, astromech is still great on K2. Yeah, I guess I can repair K2. Timbo versus Bobette was 90 minutes. This one is, we're coming up on an hour now. I think, I don't know what we'll see. So he's going to activate the unit that lost the astromech. Blanks out, so no suppression clear there. And they're just going to fall back. I think he's going to maybe pull them back towards his own objective here, just try to preserve units. His Bodicus says, poor PilotPaul has been too busy with actual airplane training this week to focus on Legion. He is definitely at a disadvantage in this game. We'll see if he can somehow pull something out, but it's not looking good. Droid sniper activating. The sniper is going to dodge and engage the other fleet unit. They can see them, but they have heavy cover. Not entirely sure why he's dodging here. May just be trying to ensure that his opponent can't pick off activations. 1 save will get through the cover, but because he didn't aim, it isn't lethal, and the save does get made. So if he had aimed, he could have pierced and gotten the kill, but he is still going to get a suppression on those fleets. Oh, that's right, Eternal. AI. Yeah, yeah. So he can't aim because he has AI. Okay. Yeah, I think his stack is just the snipers. Okay, so Wedge coming in here, and I think he's gonna focus on the red AAT now. Yep, Wedge aims and fires on the red AAT, has a clean shot. This is the one that Cassian's been putting that damage on. Let's see whether or not Wedge can do some more. So he gets right now. It's gonna be 3 saves. He re-rolls. Okay, so it's gonna be 4 saves for that AAT. And 2 succeed because there isn't a surge token, so that's average. 2 wounds inflicted. That is going to damage the AAT. Let's see what damage result comes up for it. We could see that AAT go down next turn if Wedge stays alive, but that's a pretty big if in my opinion. And weapon damage. That is probably the worst one for Luke. So I think Wedge is gonna choose to damage the main gun here. So with the main gun damaged on that AAT, that's going to substantially degrade its ability to put damage on Wedge or really on much of anything else. The double tap with Barrage is really an issue. All right, let's see what happens next. PilotPaul is still far behind here, though. It sounds like PilotPaul actually might be conceding. Yeah, PilotPaul concedes the game. Game over. It was shorter. It was shorter than Timbo versus whoever that was. Timbo versus Bobette. It was shorter after all. Game's done. So I think he could have played it out, but quite frankly, he's probably dead because I think this stuff is going to focus fire on Wedge, very possibly kill him this turn or next, and then there just isn't a realistic path to victory. So PilotPaul calls the game. To be fair, he did definitely get unlucky. I think there were a few moves, though, that I would have liked to see differently. I think he exposed the sniper and the ATRT unnecessarily and got them picked off early. And then I really would have preferred to see R2 in the center playing for the repairs, which could have kept this airspeeder alive, potentially allowing some of these other units to repair it as well, and really increase the resilience of PilotPaul's vehicles in the vehicle versus vehicle war, which seems like the core of this game. However, that's not what we saw. He's going to call it here. He's disconnected from the server, and that is going to be game. So congratulations to Luke Cook on the win there. And that is going to do it for this broadcast. Very quick game, guys. That was quicker even than some of the Flesh and Blood games I've been streaming. Eternal RMG says, I was hoping to be here for a few hours. Well, unfortunately, that is not what you got. This was a quick victory for the Separatists. And Luke Cook will be continuing on to the semifinals. So we're gonna see what happens in the next game. We'll see whether or not the AATs can push forward. But despite going up against a list that had a lot of anti-vehicle shooting, the AATs managed to come up victorious again. So congratulations to Luke Cook for the win. And we'll be back later. I'm probably going to be doing some more Flesh and Blood streams soon, and I may stream some more games from this tournament as well, depending on whether or not other streamers are picking that up or not. I'm more or less the only Flesh and Blood streamer, or like one of like 2 or 3, so there's substantially more games for me to pick up in that than in Legion, where we have a more active streaming community. And Knox comes in and asks, did Luke win already? Yep, Luke just won. PilotPaul conceded the game. So that's going to do it for this broadcast, guys. Congratulations to Luke Cook on the win, and we'll be back later. Thanks for watching, guys.